Yeah, I've been thinking there's this interesting story in Scripture where the disciples have been sent by Jesus across the water in their boats, and so they're going across the lake, and as they're going, the storm comes up, and everything's going against them, and Jesus is up on the mountain, and he recognizes that the storm is contrary to him, and they're stuck out in the middle of the lake. They've been rowing for hours and haven't been able to go anywhere. You can imagine how tired they are. They're exhausted. And Jesus decides that he's going to go to the other side of the lake. And so he starts walking across the water. And as he's walking across the water, Scripture says this very interesting thing. And he was going to pass them by. The disciples are in the middle of this storm, and in the midst of the boat. They're tired, they're worn out, they're fishermen that are struggling through a storm, and Jesus is just going to walk right on by them. If they would have noticed Jesus walking by, and they would have talked about it later and not invited him into the boat, they would have had a great story to tell. They would have had a supernatural encounter. They could have talked about that time where they saw Jesus walking across the water, but they would not have had the encounter that was available to them. And there are often times in our life where Jesus is doing something, and we get the opportunity to recognize that he's about something, that he's accomplishing something, but we're not yet involved in it. And the level of hunger that we have will determine whether or not we get brought into what Jesus is doing. If Jesus is walking through your town, are you willing to let him walk by, or will you cry out, "Oh God, do not pass me by. Do not pass me by. I must have a real encounter with you. I don't want a story that I can tell people 10 years from now. I want an encounter that changes my life, that changes my city, that changes my destiny." It's not enough to have a story about you, God. I want to have an encounter with you. Don't pass me by, God.